Hey everyone, George here. So today we're talking DC versus Vampires All Out War Issue 1 by writers Alex Packnadel and Matthew Rosenberg with art by Pascal Quilano. There's also a backup story featuring Batgirl with story and art by Guillaume Singelin. So I kind of messed up reading this story because I haven't read the main 12-issue DC versus Vampire series, and it definitely carries over elements from the main story I'm not aware of, so there will be spoilers in this video for the main series as well as this particular spin-off story. So I'm a sucker for horror comics. I read horror comics all the time, and I love DCeased and I love Marvel Zombies. So when they originally announced DC versus Vampires, I knew I wanted to read it. I just didn't know I'd be jumping into one of the miniseries before actually reading the main series. But what I've gathered from this issue is that the vampires have won. Earth is now a barren wasteland, probably due to a nuclear winter. Batman is dead. The story opens with Deathstroke, Damage, and Blue Devil traveling to what's probably the last remaining Lazarus pit on Earth with the hopes of reviving Batman. They're ambushed by vampires led by Azrael, and both Damage and Blue Devil are taken out. Slade and Azrael battle each other, with Slade gaining the upper hand and actually knocking Azrael into the Lazarus pit. So only Slade remains as vampires are closing in around him. But when Azrael emerges from the pit, we learn why the vampires were destroying the Lazarus pits, because Azrael is now a human. They manage to escape off panel because the next time we see them, they're back in their sanctuary with Man-Bat running tests on Azrael, concluding he's no longer a vampire. Azrael's then released and he tours the sanctuary where he cross paths with Mary Marvel and Bane and others. We see that Captain Atom is using his power to emit solar radiation which matches the sun's to allow the heroes to farm, as Booster Gold is seen pulling a plow across the farmland. While all of this is happening, Slade is called to a meeting by the leaders of that sanctuary where they discuss Slade's motives for enacting his mission without the council's approval to revive Batman. This is all cut short when we learn that Damage actually survived the attack and he tracked the survivors back to the sanctuary. He then kills or turns Terra and Vigilante and makes his way to Captain Atom, where he uses his own power to set off a chain reaction which appears to destroy the sanctuary. And that's where issue 1 ends. And there's also a backup story which opens with Commissioner Gordon and several GCPD members racing to meet up with Batgirl. This Batgirl appears to be very different and doesn't seem to be Barbara Gordon. Again, I haven't read the main series, so I'm unaware of her fate, if it's even known in that series. But if I had to guess, I was thinking maybe this is actually Stephanie Brown Batgirl. But when Batgirl arrives, she actually already knows that they're vamps and she dispatches them. So I definitely wish I had read the main series first, but I was still able to enjoy this story and not be too lost. While I've read a lot of post-apocalyptic stories, I never get tired of them, and this one was definitely really fun too. Slade makes a surprisingly interesting protagonist because he literally believes the survivors' best hope is to revive Batman. He believes they'd rally around Batman in a way that would maybe turn the tide against the vampires. He also seems to genuinely care for the others, which seems very odd because of what he's traditionally known for. But I guess the vampire apocalypse changed hearts and minds, especially Slade Wilson's. But I really enjoyed the focus of this story on a more heroic Deathstroke. This story was very fast-paced, so in most post-apocalyptic stories, it usually takes time for the sanctuary to fall, but they appeared to do it in the first issue with Damage and Captain Atom's destruction. So I can't wait to see what happens next, especially where the survivors going to go without food, water, and with the vampire threat around every corner. Other than the story and art, I really enjoyed Nicole Riggi's choice to use limited coloring, which really heightened the atmosphere of the story for me. It definitely gave the impression that the world was a very dark, barren place post the vampire apocalypse. And when Captain Atom detonates, the piercing reds really enhance the sense of impending doom. The following story was not directly connected to this one as far as I'm aware, and it was interesting seeing what this version of Batgirl, who appears to still be operating in Gotham City, is doing, as well as what happened to Gordon and some of his GCPD people, but she promptly dispatches them with her array of vampire deterrents. This is a really short, I think 5-page story, so there's not a lot to gain from here. but I'm just curious about her identity. But something else I really enjoyed about the story was the anime-styled frenetic artwork. I really enjoyed all of the action that was squeezed into these few pages of story. So I also really enjoyed the bonus story. So I think if you enjoyed the main series, and even if you haven't read the main series yet, like myself, but you enjoy vampire apocalypse stories, you'll definitely find a lot to like here. I would say probably read the main story first, but if you don't happen to and you start with this one, I think you can still find your way around and still enjoy the story. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you're picking up this series. Thank you for watching, and until next time, watch your necks out there, vampire hunters.